Greetings and salutations! With the other series coming to a close due to various mod patches and updates, I decided to have a go at the Ironman Viking, which I was considering. Now, because of what I did, it really wasn't good viewing to begin with, so I thought I'd come and do a Viking 101 here, from what I've found. And this isn't really going on, this is just a little short for today. And my Toki clan's doing pretty well. I've captured all of this, I've captured most of Ireland, we're going into England, Cornwall's also helping. I mean, it's been a good run. And if you notice, I've got some pretty stonking stats. 31 in a martial. But this chap, oh, he's nothing so far. Let me share with you a little tidbit I've been going on, and this took a lot of trial and error to get right. Oh, 152 living members, damn. Now we go up to my High Chief. We go up to King Toki. My first ruler. Now, this gentleman, you may notice, the keen eye amongst you, has quite the few traits. Beautiful, quick, and hail. Normally, getting all three of these major traits right from the start is very, very difficult. And this was no exception. And there's no cheats used here. This is all Ironman. So, let me just go over a few things. Now, what I did was actually start the game with a custom ruler at the age of 3 years old. Getting a Viking, this is probably easier with a Christian feudal ruler, but getting a tribal Viking from 3 years old to adulthood without being conquered, destroyed, or otherwise rebelled against is very difficult. Now, I can't remember the exact layout of the beginning stats, but I believe it was beautiful, quick, and hail, which use up most of them. I did a little boosting of the main stats here, and I also gave him brave. Not only is that virtuous, which meant I was gaining piety from the get-go, it's also the fact that people like you more, and you really need that as a child ruler. Also, starting grounds is very tough. Now, I really wanted to start over here. I really like this little area, and I've tried again and again and again, and even if I conquered all of this, they just came in from the east and utterly destroyed me. So, anyone else trying this, I highly recommend starting over here, on a little island in Austrialand. Now, I did actually try this on the west side of the island to begin, but the fact that Austrian and Norderland basically have slightly more troops meant that I could very quickly in the early game invade, take Sunderland, and then leave my potential rival over here just unable to fight back for many, many years. And then eventually when I gained to adulthood and I had enough ground, I eventually took this over as well. It has since been inherited and split once more. But in the early game, having this whole dukedom to yourself is just so damn useful. I then moved on to these areas, these islands down here. I did actually gain them through marriage, this one over here. These got kind of taken over in a holy war, so I was able to then take them back much easier. I was purposely trying to avoid attacking fellow Norsemen. But that is my advice if you are starting as a child with all these big traits. I mean, the alternative, you can go maxed out in Herculean in the strength, which was a really good chance to progress instead of having beautiful. But after trying 3 or 4 times, I found that beautiful is the way to go, because you just need that favour, that attraction, that opinion. There is some downsides to starting up here though. Very limited diplomatic range. That was a real kicker, so trying to get warriors, trying to get brides, things like that. It's a little hard. I had a lot of struggle, and you will have a very slow game. Also, the other thing you suffer from is, well, you're at the mercy of RNG when it comes to your starting council. Now, my current council, mostly my uncles, cousins, kin. Oh, believe me, I am running quite an incestuous court here. It's starting to get that way anyway. Initially, it wasn't so bad, but there's been a few marriages and issues here and there just from the lack of choice. So, you might end up having to restart, like, up to about 10 times like I did, just to get at least a decent marshal, which is absolutely vital. A chancellor is helpful because early prestige isn't too bad, but he's kind of... I had a chancellor with 10. That's fine. But a good steward and a good marshal are just... You cannot replace that. I started with a steward with a 17 and a marshal with 25. I did have one mistake though, and it's cursed me through my whole family line. And it's because when you start at 3 years old, you can choose your way of life. That's all quite handy. But I advise you to wait till you get your beginning traits. Because I got the curious trait, and much as I wanted a martial education trait, which came out really well due to my marshal's absolute wonderful skills, I was stuck with a compassionate personality trait. And that has since spread down the family due to the fact that if I do anything against compassionate, stress would have been an issue. And because I was having quite a stressful time, it really plays against Vikings. You rely a lot on raiding on the early game, and there's a lot of chances to steal extra money and kidnap people to do up your development, and all of this causes small amount of stress. It's not so bad 2 or 3 times, but also, if you're going raiding, I highly recommend having your leader have Reaver. This is vital for those quick hit and runs. If you can get anything that can reduce embarking speed as well, reduce embarking lag and basically get there onto your boats faster, yeah, that's also your next biggest one. Because unlike Crusader Kings II, people move between provinces a lot faster, and it does take a full month at least to embark all your troops. I did get caught out a handful of times, and I literally lost hundreds of gold to this. It was frustrating. I later picked up Military Engineer, wasn't bad, but starting with Brilliant Strategist and Reaver were just absolutely brilliant. And I don't know why I gained Reaver. I think it's because my Marshal was constantly on raids, and I was with him. I mean, I picked up a few other traits along the way, but yeah, it's been pretty decent. Now, if I zoom out, you can see I got very, very busy. Now, the biggest problem with a tribal ruler is ensuring there's, heirs for... heirs. Yeah, ensuring 1, there's heirs, and 2, there's land for all of those heirs. I mean, it's not so bad when you have the Varagon Guard, and you can start sending off kin to that. But to begin with, it gets a little rough. So that will fuel your invasions. I was purposely getting little islands and throwing my sons as much as I could onto them after a while, just to ensure that they wouldn't take the lands I wanted. The other thing to consider is combat is a lot more lethal for Vikings. They will be tearing each other's heads off. They will be tearing off the opponent's heads. They will be tearing heads left, right, and centre. The amount of heads torn off is probably in the triple digits by now. And this often means you get the Berserker traits. And don't get too attached to your, I would say knights, warriors, what are they called in this? Champions. Yes, don't get too attached to them, because the slightest thing can kick off your champions, and they will be asking you to duel. So you'll be going through them through a hot knife like butter, as one of them will die. Now, I've mentioned raiding quite a lot, and one of the advantages up here, I'll give a quick 101 of raiding. Now, When it comes to raiding, Riva really helps. I prefer having 2 or 3 groups, preferably 2 large groups, but you have to be cautious of your supplies. That's always an issue, and you can't really split your raiding groups. So, from here, raiding your fellow Norsemen on these islands is a good bet. It's nice and simple. Ireland in the game is very good because they're all tribal, they can't really fight back. Scotland isn't too bad, but it's usually too united to really pick off properly. But do you want to know what my real moneymaker was? Was when my fellow Norsemen were attacking enemies, I would purposely hit these other areas, pretty much the opposite side of those battles, to raid those countries. So when England was facing what was York up here, when they marched up before they became England, I think they were Wessex, I would come from the south and raid along all the way along the south. And many of these places would gain like 20 to 30 gold. And also the thing you've got to consider is where other people are going to raid. Because there's a lot of Vikings around here, and you will be racing them for loot. But interestingly enough, you can team up with them against people attacking them. So I've had a few times where, yeah, I wasn't going to get any money from it, but I have teamed up with AI raiders to ensure that we don't get wiped. Because say we've both got 750 men and there's an 1,000 troop regiment coming at us, and he's going for him, I jump on that 1,000 men because we're both technically at war with this nation for raiding it, but we might be allied. Well, we're not really allied, but we're neutral to one another, so we'll team up against our mutual enemy. And I found the AI also have been doing this back, which is all very nice. But my secret cash box is down here. Oh, these little islands. So good for money. So good for gaining hostages. I was getting about at least 60 gold each time. It has become a bit of a problem now. They've since been invaded by this lot, and there's big blobs forming, which is making it a lot harder to pick off small opponents. Also, Sweden somehow has taken over Wales, which has really irked me. Very much so. Because I was trying to take that. I'd want the Kingdom of Wales, but no. Again, raiding's all about thinking about where you're going to hit people. The other big threat you've got is over here. Because the old Island over here, or island. Oh, let's go. Titles. The Empire of Scandinavia. Sooner or later, this is going to come after me. Which is a real issue. So, what I'm trying to do is build up my power base over here so I can resist them. If you take too long, though, you will not have that chance. The other thing you've got to do as well is after you've united the island here, and maybe gained a bit over here, just to get these 2 dukedoms, because they're very easy to get, I recommend aiming for the south of Ireland, because this little dukedom, very easy to get a hold of, usually very weak. And with that you can form a kingdom, and you start getting things like elective succession, which will help you in the end. I mean, right now I have 2 titles, which I'm trying to vote for both. And thankfully I've managed to keep my kingdom united so far. I really need a 3rd kingdom title. I was hoping to claim Brittany, but another Viking invaded that, captured all of it, and it's since been Holy Ward, and West France has just taken it, and I can't get that. My next idea was to get Wales, but Sweden, damn it. And I've also purposefully been avoiding attacking my fellow Vikings until England was dealt with. I mean, I really wanted them just to claim up England, because I just wanted Ireland, to be honest. Cornwall was just a target of opportunity, because they were an ally to Wessex, and I was trying to help what became Danelaw. Even though we don't really have, well, we didn't have many official alliances. I've since got them, and they've caused me nothing but grief. But I need someone I can marry my family off to. So yes, if you can get Brittany early, you're going to be fighting a very hard war against France unless they split. Other minor kingdoms, I would probably say Wales is your best bet. Scotland also. Eventually I'm probably just going to take over Scotland. This has been an absolute headache from start to finish. When they were Christian, they were a pain in the ass. The Norse lords up there have practically failed. They changed religion at one point. It became a raiding religion. It was like a weird form of Christianity. No, it was a change of culture. They became Gaelic. So that was a massive headache as well. You could theoretically try to hammer this down here, because my personal goal, there's plenty of achievements that involve just forming all of this and claiming it and becoming a massive superpower. Me, I just want to get down here and take over these islands and start working my way through Africa, and then drop off a load of family, set them up, and just make them independent. Renown is going to be a massive issue for you as well. I'm just going to say that now, because it's hard to gain renown if you don't have your family members not underneath your rule. Oh, nearly every dukedom in my realm is owned by a family member, just because of inheritance and because you've got concubines and constantly kicking out kids. That's always going to be an issue. The reason I took Cornwall originally was to let it go, but because England is falling apart, Danelaw's having constant rebellion, Scotland's gone nowhere, I might just claim it for myself. That's where that plan just utterly altered. But again, my initial plan was just to take Ireland and then a few areas in here and then make them independent so I could build up renown. Also, if you go for the free trait strategy like I did, and you're a slight mercy of how your character develops, I would highly recommend the Blood dynasty lines. Because it will ensure that all of your kids in the future are going to have those traits. I think I've only had 2 children. I've been completely traitless. Everyone's had something. I want to get resilient in the end, because I've had a few random events throughout my bloodline where we've gained the pox, and Lover's Pox is a complete headache. My main character gained it due to an event that was completely not my fault. I just had a random event where I woke up after a drunk night out and I'd slept with someone in my court who'd had it. No choice, no option. That one made me genuinely angry and annoyed, because that completely took away my own agency. And since then, I've just gone stuff it because I've had tons of kids inheriting it. And it's going to be a bane on my family for some time, and also my court. It's a bit of a headache, but yes, this one is your main one you want to aim for. Normally, I'd go for kin, just to get the studious youth, to get better education traits. But since I've already got good characters with good traits, I've managed to at least keep my education up high the manual way. Also, as Vikings, you'll have a choice between adventure and I think it's like Sea Raider or Viking. Once you've picked one, you can't go down the other tree. I did not realise this annoyingly. I was going to take like one of each. But I went for adventure because I really wanted to send off my kin off to the Varangian Guard, and I wanted to help my bloodline in case he wanted to go adventuring. Now, I have found the Varangian Guard to be absolutely freaking useless, almost. They come back with about 300 prestige and a load of gold. That's not so bad, but they also come back with traits like stressed or depressed and things like that. The Varangian Guard just seems to not do very well. It says they can gain skills and traits. I've only had negative traits from it. I would love to hear the feedback from anyone else. Also, the other reason I took this is because I wanted more diplomatic range. Gift givers, not really going to be good for me. So extra seduction would be nice, but strange gods makes it a little easier to get between religions. Veteran explorers, I do like that one. Decentralized rule. It's your friend relation gives you free vassal opinion to popular opinion. That's quite good. I would personally say the Sea Raider's better though. If you were going to go proper Viking and not bother reforming the religion, which is very hard for the Norse religion, Sea Raider is probably what it's at. And I think that's just about it for my just general hints and tips after Viking 101. I hope some of this helped. Again, one last tip with tribal authority, because you are not going to get your religion um, changed anytime soon, I would tell you just to avoid passing absolute tribal authority. It doesn't give you anything other than very unhappy vassals, and it's a waste of prestige. I generally did it automatically because I'm so used to Crusader Kings II. Again, that's another little pitfall I would like you to avoid, and I hope this has helped. I'll catch you later, and if anyone else has their own tips to add, please leave them in the comments. I always love feedback, even if you agree or disagree with me.